The biggest complaint in this bathroom is the toilet, and it's not because it doesn't flush properly. It does. It doesn't flush as well as they used to before the government got involved in how much water we could use, but it works fine. The thing just sticks out into the room so far. This thing comes off of the wall 31 inches, and the bathroom's only 60 inches wide. So it's sticking out more than halfway into the room. So I'm going to be changing this out for a very compact toilet. I'm going to be going with an American Standard Cadet 3. The toilet works great, and the best part about it is it doesn't have any fancy gadgets inside of it. There's no pressure tank. There's no mechanism with the valves and different kinds of flushing depending on what you're doing. Most toilets nowadays are set up so that these bolts are 12 inches off the finished wall. That's called a 12-inch rough-in. You can see this one here is just slightly over 12 inches, but 12 inches has been the standard for quite a while. So part of changing this toilet out is I'm going to be moving the toilet flange on the floor back so it's 10 inches off the finished wall. It's a little extreme, but this bathroom is so tiny, I want to get every extra inch that I can. The only thing is if you do move your toilet flange from 12 inches to 10 inches, you're more than likely going to have to get a different toilet, because when you're shopping for toilets, you have to specify the rough-in. Every little bit's going to matter in such a tight bathroom like this. It's going to make it much more comfortable when you're getting in and out of the tub, and the room will feel much more open. So I'm going to take the extreme step and cut into the floor and move this drain line. When you're changing a toilet, you want to shut off the water valve down below, flush the toilet as many times as you can to get as much water out of it. I'm old school. I just use a rag, dip it in there, and squeeze it out. They have this newfangled chemical you can dump in there, and it turns the water into jello if you want to use that instead. I don't mind sticking my hand in here and just getting the water out. It only takes a few minutes. There's also going to be water in the tank. You're going to need to get that out too. This is going to take a little while just because of the design of this toilet. Do whatever you need to do to get that water out. These two big screws right here hold the tank to the base of the toilet, unless of course you have a one-piece toilet. I'm going to take the tank off just to show you how to do it, but that's not necessary to remove the toilet. Like I said, the water's already off. I just need to disconnect this line. I'm going to use this adjustable wrench. And just so you know how to use these things, in the United States, you put it on the fitting this way because they're standard fittings. If you're in Canada or Europe, you flip it this way and that'll make it metric. And you are going to get a little bit of water out of here once you disconnect this. Now we just have to take the bolts off at the bottom of the tank and we can remove the tank. Okay, this is looking up from the bottom of the toilet. And you just want to get a socket on there. And hopefully it'll come loose without spinning that bolt inside the tank. Looks like I'm lucky here. And then just do the same thing on the other side. Once you have the line disconnected and those two bolts underneath, the tank just lifts right off. The only thing left to do now is just take off the two bolts that are holding the toilet down to the toilet flange. These little plastic caps, if you're lucky enough to still have them, should just pop right off. And now we have to take this off. These nuts can be very frustrating to take off, but we'll give it a shot and see what happens. Bust it off, nice. Now you just do the same thing on the other side. If you're having trouble getting those bolts off at the bottom, you may need to get a tool like this, plumber's hacksaw. It allows you to get in there nice and tight so you can cut them off. You may also need to get a utility knife and cut around the base of the toilet. Sometimes the installer will use caulk to seal around the bottom of the toilet. I've even seen some people use plaster. Just depends on what you run into, but once you get those two bolts off, the toilet should just lift right up. And be prepared where you sit it down. Because if it has a wax ring on the bottom of it's going to be really disgusting. If you set this down on a floor or a carpet, you're going to have one heck of a mess that you're not going to be able to clean up very easily. If you have a dog, you know how to use one of these things. This is the easiest way to get these wax rings off. Hopefully I can get it off in one piece. I'm just going to take a rag, shove it into the pipe where the toilet came off so I don't get any sewer gas into the house. I'm on the second floor, so that should be good enough. If you're on the basement floor or even on the first floor, you might want to get a fitting that you could put into the pipe and crank a nut and get a nice secure connection just in case you have some other issues elsewhere in the house. This whole bathroom's getting redone, so I'm going to retile the floor real quick and then I'll show you how to install the new toilet. One of my favorite parts of installing a toilet is you get to sit down a lot, and some parts of it you get to lay down. Anyway, you want to take your new toilet and set it in place where it's going to be, and make sure it's not going to rock. This is before you put the wax ring or anything else. Just make sure it's not going to move around. I'm good and solid this way, but if I push down on the front, it rocks just a little bit. So I need to take care of that. They actually make a product just for it. It's called a toilet shim. You'll find it in the plumbing department. You can use other plastic shims, but these are white. You're not going to see them when you shove them underneath the toilet. You want to take your toilet bolts or Johnny bolts, and there'll be a big spot where they go in. You stick it in there and spin it around so it's roughly halfway. And some of them come with little plastic washers you push down. This kit came with these metal ones. These aren't really doing anything other than to help hold the bolts in place. And you want to take your wax ring. This one comes with this plastic around it. Sometimes it's just wax paper. And then just put your wax ring in place. That's it. Now we're ready to set the toilet and just guide it down over the two bolts. Now you want to put your weight on it and push down, and that's going to compress the wax ring. Okay. And if you need a toilet shim, now's when you would stick it in. You don't want to use these to lift the toilet, it's just to keep it from rocking. If you have the bolt kit that comes with the washers and the caps, pay attention. One of these sides is going to say this side up or this side down, otherwise these little caps won't snap on. I'm going to be using this type. You just screw it down by hand and then the cap snaps right onto this. Don't tighten these down too much, just snug them up. The toilet's not going to fly up in the air. You're just looking to hold it securely so it doesn't rock and twist around. On the bottom of the tank, you're going to have two bolts that come through from the inside. There should be a rubber washer underneath the head of the screw. Some tanks, you're going to have a nut and a washer that go on right here that hold the bolts tight. This particular toilet, you don't need those. The bolts are held in place with the rubber washers. And right here, you're going to have a big giant foam donut that you set in place on top of this big white nut. And now we can set the tank on top of the bowl. On the bottom, you're going to put a washer and nut. They sent a tool with this toilet that you can use to tighten the nut up. And this is really all you need. Don't put a wrench on this and get crazy tightening it up. This little plastic tool, just hand tight. Again, don't get crazy tightening these down. You don't want to crack the toilet. You're just looking to snug everything up. And you want to go back and forth until you bring it down nice and even and everything's snug. I like to use chrome supply lines when I'm connecting to a toilet. Just gives it a more finished look. The steel braided ones are fine. These don't work any better. They just look a little neater. If you are going to use the chrome line, get yourself a spring tool to bend it, because this soft copper will kink really easily if you have to bend it. I don't think I need much more than this of a bend, but we'll see. If you're going to use the chrome lines, you slide the nut on first, and this little donut looking thing, the ferrule, and then you can stick it into the valve. It's really important that the line going into the valve is going straight in, otherwise it's not going to seal properly. So you just want to get your bends right, tweak them a little bit, and then get your nut on. Shouldn't need a lot of force on this. You'll feel when it gets tight. There's no sense getting a nice chrome valve and then messing it up with your channel locks. Now we can turn on the water and see if we have any leaks. This little hose belongs on here. The water is right at the top of that black tube, so it's a little high. I need to adjust the float. And you do that by turning this knob right here, just so the water doesn't come up quite that high. Now that the toilet's all in, it's sticking out from the wall just shy of 26 inches. When I started, it was out into the room 31 inches. 5 inches makes a big difference in a little bathroom like this. Now you have more room to walk through, get in and out of the shower. This American Standard Cadet toilet is really highly rated. It's probably not going to flush as well as that avocado green toilet at your mother's house, but I'll tell you what, this thing is going to take all your troubles and flush them down the drain. If you found this video helpful, hit the thumbs up button. Let me know I'm putting out something that you found interesting or useful. And hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, because I'm sure your house is just like my house. There's constantly things breaking, falling apart, need to be fixed, need to be upgraded, whatever the case is. I'm always putting out home improvement videos, so check it out, and I'm sure there's going to be things down the road that you'll find useful. Thanks for watching.